A common immigration and asylum policy is something that the EU has been working on to better organise legal migration and contribute to the EU's economic development. The EPP Group has been the leading force behind the asylum package, a modern set of laws and fundamental rights to help refugees live a decent life. They ensure common minimum standards on procedures, reception conditions and protection of asylum seekers across the EU.
People who are fleeing their country because they are persecuted, because they lose their life, they lose their health, they are tortured, that of course we have the obligation as human beings to help those other human beings. Again, a very Christian concept, a concept which is deep into the EPP believing, but to make a difference between those who want to come to Europe for economic reasons and those who come because their life is in danger.
Under the regulation, only one member state is responsible for examining an application to prevent asylum shopping or abuse of the system through the submission of several requests by one person. In a further bid to reduce cross-border crime, the EPP Group campaigned to give law enforcement authorities immediate and direct access to Eurodac, the EU's database of asylum seekers. Until recently, once an asylum seeker had been accepted, access to his or her data was restricted. Thanks to the new law introduced by the EPP Group, this data can be used in cases where the accepted migrant is suspected of abusing the national social welfare system. The EPP Group has also brought in special requirements for the protection of children and for refugee proceedings so that they are concluded within a 6-month timeframe. It is now working to help asylum seekers in the labour market so that they can become self-sufficient. And one agency which takes a very keen interest in what the EU is doing in this field is the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. And we're here in Brussels to talk to Madeline Garlick, Head of Policy and Legal Affairs. Let's go and meet her. I asked Madeline her views on the EU's achievements in its immigration policy in recent years.
What's been done over the past 10 years is really quite impressive. Since 1999, when the EU member states decided that they would confer competence on the European Union, there's been extraordinary progress towards common standards. There is a great interest we see on the part of a number of EPP members, Mrs. Hohlmeier of Germany, Mrs. Macovei also of Romania. We've also seen Mr. Weber, of course, and Mr. Papadricolau, who's particularly focused on the issue of solidarity. So it's been very positive and encouraging for us.
However, once again, the critics argue that immigration is too much of a burden for Europe, given the unprecedented refugee crisis due to the upheavals in North Africa since the Arab uprising in 2011 and the current economic difficulties that Europe faces. Productivity in member states has decreased and unemployment has risen. So is the EU's immigration policy affordable?
Europe is dealing with a relatively small proportion of people displaced from crisis zones. One case that perhaps really exemplifies this most clearly also is that of Syria. And there we have close to 1.6 million people who've been displaced in the region around Syria. Lebanon has close to 500,000. Jordan has close to 500,000 also. Turkey has a very substantial number. And even Iraq is also hosting tens of thousands. Europe, by contrast, has received 36,000 asylum claims from Syrian refugees since 2011. It has to be borne in mind that this is something that Europe probably, with its legal framework and with its commitment to fulfilling international law, has the means to respond to.
And harmonised rules across the EU will help with fair responsibility sharing. Indeed, if well thought out, immigration can benefit both Europe and its migrants, not only in terms of cultural richness, but in keeping the economy going. Due to Europe's ageing population, this is more necessary now than ever. Our workforce will need to be supplemented by skills and knowledge developed in other regions of the world to help move us forward, enhance competitiveness and limit the brain drain. The introduction of the EU Blue Card Directive in 2009 improves Europe's ability to attract highly qualified workers from third countries. To be allowed into the EU, the applicant must have a work contract or binding job offer, proof of sickness insurance and not pose a threat to public policy. This was followed by the Single Permit Directive in 2011, which allows migrants to obtain a work permit via a single procedure, therefore simplifying the administrative burden. The EU immigration portal set up in November 2011 addresses the importance of integration in host societies and provides hands-on information for foreign nationals. This directive is the first step towards a common European policy on economic migration. In Parliament, Manfred Weber is stepping up the fight against illegal immigration through stronger protection of Europe's external borders and a strong visa regime.
Thousands of people are coming illegally to the European Union each year, and we need common standards. We have totally different standards between a Slovakian-Ukraine border and the Italian-Mediterranean border. We need common standards, and we need an authority, I would say Frontex, we need an authority who is checking these standards.
Under a Smart Borders Initiative package, the EPP wants a visa suspension mechanism if visa conditions are being abused.
In the Schengen area, we have a common visa regime, and I would say for the future we must defend this visa regime. Also, I'm not so in favor of having more and more states on the globe who have no visa obligation for coming to the European Union. We're discussing it on the Turkey case, we're discussing it on the Russia case, and I would say in all these cases we should say let's have a strong visa regime, because the biggest problem is that the overstayers who are coming with a legal visa inside of the European Union and will not leave after this visa is gone, as the time period is gone.
With the increased freedom to travel, citizens must feel confident that their rights are fully protected and their security guaranteed wherever they are in the EU. Thanks to a new directive driven by Elena Antonescu, the EPP group has taken a major step forward in improving citizens' procedural rights abroad. Ms. Antonescu, how does this directive really help European citizens?
The directive will ensure that a person suspected or accused of having committed a criminal offence will have access to the lawyer from the earliest stages of the proceedings, and that they will have the possibility to speak with to have contact with their families, to consular authorities if they are traveling abroad.
A previously adopted directive also entitles you to free translation throughout criminal proceedings, and MEPs have called for the creation of a database of legal professionals with sufficient law and linguistic skills. At the same time, Commissioner Reding, who is incredibly passionate about human rights and improving the lives of citizens, has introduced a victims package so that for the first time victims are protected and receive the appropriate support through court proceedings. EPP Group Rapporteur Antonio López-Istúriz has worked with the Commissioner to push a similar legislation for victims of domestic violence through the Parliament.
This legislation helps her, whoever is affected, whoever is suffering this violence. Either she's in the United Kingdom, she's in Germany, and she wants to travel to another country inside the European Union. She will have the same protection she has in the United Kingdom. She will have it in Spain, in Italy, whatever. This is very important because it gives security to the people, that they really can believe in the European institutions protecting them and helping them in difficult moments.
And for children experiencing physical or psychological abuse, they can ring the common European number 116 to speak to someone and receive support. Over the last 50 years, the EU has adopted legislation protecting all members of society against discrimination based on race, gender, age and disability. In 2012, the Commission proposed a major reform for data protection. The new laws will strengthen individual rights and tackle the challenges of living in a globalised world so heavily dependent on social media and new technology.
The European People's Party is strongly supporting the Commission, our Commissioner Viviane Reding, in these questions to define it on European level, because everybody must be aware that on national level you will not have the power to set standards for data protection on a global level.
Thanks to EU law, European citizens have a set of rights that complement national citizenship. These are laid down in the Charter of Fundamental Rights under the Lisbon Treaty: the right to dignity, freedom, solidarity, equality and justice. Knowledge and effective use of these rights is key to getting the best out of your EU citizenship. For more information, please visit our website at eppgroup.eu. Until next time, thank you for watching.